What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Isaiah. Welcome to the final round, and today I'm breaking down UFC Fight Night of Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun Park, taking place this weekend, August 2nd, in the Apex, unfortunately. A lot of last-minute changes to the card. It was supposed to originally be Tatsuro Taira versus Amir Albazi. Albazi was not cleared by the UFC medical staff, so they pulled him, and Hyun Park, who was going to be fighting Steve Erceg next week, now fighting a week earlier against Tatsuro Taira. So last minute main event, and then had another last minute addition to the card. Really happened, I believe, yesterday, but and a lot of other cancellations. So yeah, let's get on to the fight breakdown. First fight of the night, we have Pierre Rodriguez versus Ketlin Souza. Um, I'm going to choose. I'm gonna pick. Um, I want to say Pierre Rodriguez in this fight. Um, Ketlin Souza, while she is good, just lose to um, Angela Hill. Um, Looking at her record, she's lost to some decent people, and she's beaten some decent contenders in the division, but Pierre Rodriguez has beaten the better of the competition. And I think, I don't know much about either girl, but I'm going to pick Pierre Rodriguez to win this fight. When you get a woman's fight like this, um, where Pierre Rodriguez really doesn't, get finishes, but Catelyn does, so Catelyn's a more aggressive fighter, so Pierre seems like the more rounded fighter. So next fight of the night we have Burns versus Rafael Estevam. I'm gonna choose oh, I misspelled that. Fuck. I meant Felipe Boons. That's my bad. I look like an idiot. This is a short notice opponent. I believe Felipe was supposed to be fighting Andre Lima, who I was definitely siding with. But Rafael Esteban, a lot of people are choosing him. He's a heavy favorite. He's a minus 500. Uh, arguably so. He's 13-0. But I mean, you look at Felipe. I mean, yeah, he is a lot older than Rafael, but I think he's just, my one problem with Rafael is what we've seen in his fights. When it gets later into the fight, he starts to gas a little bit. Starts to gas a little bit, and if Felipe Boons can, survive his early onslaught and he get to the, over a round and a half, I think the momentum of this fight is going to truly change. So I'm going to pick Felipe Boons. He's a big dog. But I think he's going to be durable enough, and I think he's just, fought, um, you know, better fighters. So I'm going to choose Felipe Boons to win this fight. But if it goes under a round and a half, Rafael definitely is going to take it. Next fight of the night, we have a last minute addition to this card. We have Austin Bashley versus John Yanis. I'm going to choose Austin Bashley to win this fight. John Yanis stepping up short notice. I mean, they're both stepping up on short notice. Looking at their records right now, this is John Yanis's debut. There's not much known about him from what I see, but he's a much older fighter. 7 years, 8 years the elder. But I'm gonna honestly choose Austin Bashi to win this fight because I think his wrestling is, solid enough to um, get him the win. And I think the one problem um, we've seen with John Yanis in his career off of his losses is that he struggles with the wrestling aspect. And he has been saying a lot in his interviews leading up to this fight. I'm changing. My takedown defense is better. My wrestling's getting better. He's really, really focusing on that aspect. So I think he's a bit worrying about that too much, and I think Austin is gonna be able to play that into his game. So I'm gonna pick Austin Bashi to get this fight done by decision. Nick Klein versus Andre Pulev. Sorry, I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose Andre Pulev to win this fight. Um, the odds are minus 115 for both guys, so they're exactly even. But Nick Klein, last fight against Matsuro Malik, got KO'd, but he did hurt Abdul in the first round. But after that, he kind of just started deteriorating and got finished. On Andre Puliev, his last fight was a loss to Christian Leroy Duncan, who arguably is not a bad fighter. That Christian Leroy Duncan of a loss does age well right now. So, and I think he has a lot of finishing ability in this fight. I think he's gonna be able to weather whatever early storm Nick Klein throws at him. I think he's a bit durable. So I think Andre Puliev's gonna be able to survive an early onslaught and either knock Nick Klein out at the end of the first or sometime in the second round. So my pick is Nick or Andre Puliev. Rodolfo Vieira versus Trayshawn Gore. I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose Rodolfo Vieira to win this fight. It's kind of a give and take. His wrestling is superior to Trayshawn's. If you see Trayshawn's back get on the ground, you might as well lose all hope for him because um, he hasn't shown any ability to really do anything off his back and get up off his back. And his last fight was a loss against Marco Tulio, which was all mostly an all stand up fight. But he got beat bad in that fight, and he got finished. And that was 3 months ago. So maybe he's taking this fight a bit too soon. I don't know, but I think I think Rodolfo Vieira's wrestling is going to be able to play into his into his favor, and he's just going to be able to get Trayshawn to the ground and control him for the majority of the fight. And I think he honestly gets either a late submission or a decision. So my pick is Rodolfo Vieira. Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. I'm going to choose Rinya Nakamura, but I'm a bit a suspect based off his last fight. Um, Only because he came in as a massive, massive favorite against Murin Gafurov and completely looked like he threw his game plan out the window and did not wrestle. And by the time he tried to wrestle, it had no, success, and he kind of just got pieced up and battered for all 3 rounds. And Nathan Fletcher, on the other hand, coming off a loss to Callan Lockman, fuck that dude. Um, is a pretty decent fighter. But I think his one problem is, while he is good with his jujitsu, I think when he gets on his back, he kind of, you know, doesn't really show ability to get up off the ground against someone who can actually wrestle really well. Hold on. Thumper, please stop. Sorry, my cat was doing something. But I think Rinya's wrestling pedigree is far superior than Nathan's, and if Rinya fights smartly, he's gonna shoot takedowns and get Nathan to the ground and just control him. And I think he can do that. But I'm gonna avoid any sense of betting on him just because I don't trust him after his last fight. I need to get at least see 3 more solid wins with fight IQ to show me that he's ready again. But I'm gonna pick Rinya Nakamura. I think he just uses his wrestling to get a decision when I don't think he finishes Nathan Fletcher. Danny Silva versus Kevin Valhouse. This is a very good fight. I'm very excited. We talked about Kevin Valhouse on our prospect shakeup video. I considered him for the prospect list, but we didn't put him on because he's only had one fight in the UFC, so it makes sense. But this is a very good fight. Danny Silva is a very game opponent. Um, he has good wins over in the UFC over Josh Kulabau, but that one hasn't aged too well. And then Lucas Almeida, not aged too well either. And those are both split decisions. And you look at Kevin Wiles, he kind of very people compare him to Ilya. He has a very similar style, and for his age at 23 years old, he fights really smartly. He uses fight IQ. He knows where he needs to be. He still has some learning to do, but I think he uses his boxing and his wrestling to get this fight done. I honestly think he finishes Danny Silva in round two. I think it takes a round to figure out Danny Silva's style, and then round two just gets in close, pins him against the fence, and just lands a good you know 1-2 or something. I don't know. Finishes the fight in round two, I believe. So my pick is Kevin Malhouse. I'm very high on him. Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Um, Honestly, I'm gonna pick Zaleski to win this fight. Neil Magny coming off 2 KO losses to Carlos Prates and Michael Morales. Um, Looking, a bit worse and worse as time goes on. His last win was a KO win over, or TKO win over Mike Malott, where he lost all majority of all the fight until Mike Malott kind of just gave up in the third round and let himself get finished. And before that, his real, actual last win was 2 years ago against Phil Rowe. So not really aging well. And Elijah Zaleski, on the other hand, also not looking that good. Just got KO'd by knees and elbows against Chidi Nishikano, or Chidi Njokuani, sorry. But I don't know. I think Zaleski, both guys are on the back end of their career. Both guys are grizzled vets, and both guys probably one KO loss away from retiring. So I'm going to choose Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos to win this fight. I don't think he gets it by knockout. I think he does it by decision. Um, just because I don't think he has a finishing ability at his age, and Neil Magny is a bit long, so he's gonna have to work in his way into the range. So my pick is Dos Santos. Kale Rosa versus Nora Cornoli. I'm going to pick Cal Rosa to win this fight. I have a bit of bias coming into this fight because Nora is a Frenchman or from France, and I always bet against somebody who is from France because the French really haven't shown much of anything, and no one mentioned Cyril Gahn because fuck that dude, fuck Cyril. Um, yeah, I'm gonna pick Nora Carol to win this fight. I think um she has more UFC experience. She has lost a bit, but she's lost to good fighters, grew up up and contenders, and she's beaten some pretty good fighters too. Um, I think she's a well-rounded fighter, and I think she just gets a decision victory against Nora Kowali. Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovic. I'm excited for this fight. Elvis Brenner always comes to bang. Esteban Ribovic, a very hot prospect that's coming up. Who honestly, given the opportunity, he's gonna fucking light your ass up, dude. He's fun to watch. But Els Brenner coming off of two losses to Midovic Olabai and then Joel Alvarez. Joel Alvarez one where he just moved forward too aggressively and Joel Alvarez put him out. Um, but he's beaten some decent fighters. Beat Grom Kutateladze when everyone was high on Grom. Never liked the dude. Never thought he was that good. But he Elvis Brenner is the type of fighter people like to watch because he moves forward. He tries to get to the finish. He's that typical shoot box Diego Lima type of fighter. That Charles Oliveira type fighter where he moves forward, tries to get to finish in every scenario, and is an exciting fighter. But he's fighting a guy in Esteban Ribovic who I think my one problem with Esteban is that his reach is so small for this division. He's got a small reach, but he uses it well. He's coming off a loss to Nazarat Hasbraz, which people did say that it could have gone to Esteban. It was a very close fight. Um, but before that, had the absolute barn burner against Daniel Zellhuber at the Sphere, where the first two rounds were amazing, and then the third round was godly, where uh, Esteban was fucking lighting his ass up after he hurt him, and it was amazing. And then before that, had that insane head kick KO over Terrence McKinney. So I'm very high on Esteban. He does have a very game opponent in this fight. He's gonna have to weather, a lot in this fight because Elvis Brenner is gonna move forward no matter what. So Esteban is gonna have to be on his game, moving, picking the shots and landing the better shots and avoiding Elsbender's power shots because Elsbender is going to be throwing that constantly, and I think he's going to be looking for the finish. But I think Esteban is experienced enough, and I think he, you know, would do enough to get the win over Elsbender. I think I'm going to predict that this is going to be fight of the night right here. This is my prediction. So my pick is Esteban Ribovic, and I think it's fight of the night. Moving on, co-main event of the evening: Chris Duncan versus Mateusz Rebecki. Um, I'm going to pick, surprisingly, I'm going to pick Mateusz Rebecki to win this fight. A lot of people kind of wrote him off after, or no, I forget that was a win. That was such a crazy fight. People are kind of writing him off over that split decision win over Midovic Orabai, where people, my God, was that an absolute fucking war. Both men showed absolute heart in that fight, and showed that they wanted to win. Honestly, it definitely could have gone either way. Um, but they gave it to Rebecki. I'm not mad about it. Rebecki is a very grappling heavy type fighter, and will use that grappling to set up his power shots, and we've seen that before. And I think I like Chris Duncan. He kind of relies on his durability to win most of his fights. He has been hurt a lot in his contender series fight against Charlie Campbell. He got hurt by Charlie in the first round and then came back, and that was that big comeback victory that got Dana White out of his seats. Woo, Uncle Professor. Fuck that. But I think his style of relying on his durability is not gonna work for him in this fight because Rebecki is a dog and is a durable fucking guy. We saw that after his last fight, and we do. People are writing him off also after that Diego Ferreira knockout loss, where he kind of won the first two rounds and then got KO'd by Diego Ferreira. But Diego Ferreira kind of been doing that to people lately, so it's not surprising. But honestly, I'm gonna pick Mateusz Rebecki because I think He's gonna use the grappling to set up his power shots. He's gonna land an overhand on Chris Duncan. I think he's gonna hurt Chris Duncan and then take him down and probably get a ground and pound victory at some point. So my pick is Mataus Rebecki. Main event: Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun Sung Park. I'm going to pick Tatsuro Taira to win this fight. Um, Hyun Sung Park is definitely the more boxing heavy type fighter. Has the better striking compared to Taira. Taira's ground game is, my God, it's fucking it's subliminal. It's amazing, dude. The back takes I saw against Alex Perez, Carlos Hernandez fight, Edgar Chavez, Jesse Aguilar, even his last fight to Brandon Royval, his grappling kept him in that fight, and you'd think after holding a body lock while you're standing for the whole round, you'd think his legs would be gassed and he wouldn't be able to do it again. But the next round, he does the same thing again. This guy's grappling and jiu-jitsu is fucking cream of the crop. In a pure jiu-jitsu fight, I'd put him against a lot of guys right now because even for how young he is, his grappling is amazing. His striking, however, is not so there. It's slowly getting there. His jab is kind of getting better, but it's not up to par with Hyun Sung Park. But I don't think it's going to matter in this fight because I think he's going to be able to get this fight to the ground, getting close, get a hold of Hyun, and just take him down. I don't know if he probably gets a submission at some point, but this isn't like a really short notice fight for Young Sung Park. Well, he's stepping up on short notice. He was supposed to be fighting next week against Steve Erceg, so he was training. He's had 3 fights in the UFC, all by way of finish. Um, but they're against not the best guys. The most similar opponent is Carlos Hernandez. So we're gonna see. I think Tatsuro Taira is gonna get this done. I think he's gonna get it to the ground. I think he's gonna survive Park's boxing, and I think he's just gonna get a submission at some point. So my pick is Tatsuro Taira. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share with anybody if you like watching UFC, and pay attention to any future videos I'm going to do for the future events we have, or the UFC is going to be putting on in the future. Jesus, that was awful. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. And remember, all the greatest fighters leave it all in the final round. Peace.